In France with our press reviewer Oliver Farry. Hello there.
Hello.
And we're going to start off with something that might puzzle a few people. The socialists are in power here in France, and normally they're the ones who are all in favour of more unemployment benefits, social benefits, that kind of thing. But there's a very controversial proposal to do with unemployment benefits.
That's right. Finance Minister Emmanuel Macron, who already has quite a few enemies on the left because he's a former banker, has said there should be no taboo regarding the government's position on unemployment benefit. Now, of course, in France, unemployment benefit is more a type of insurance that the worker actually accrues over their years working. And so they get taken care of quite well should they happen to lose their jobs, or at least for a year or two. Now, needless to say, his proposed move has sent the left into uproar. This comes after Prime Minister Manuel Valls last week said that the matter should be reviewed. That has already caused a little bit of an annoyance. Now, the Finance Minister has gone a little bit further. The right-leaning Le Figaro says that, on its headline, that the left is fractured. It mentions the reactions which show how, quote, uncomfortable a position the government finds it in to put into place reforms that the European Union wants it to adopt. Le Parisien, the Paris daily, has its headline, Unemployment Benefit, the Great Fog, and it asks what François Hollande wants. Now, last Wednesday, the President said he declared the government has plenty of things to debate on it for the time being. But clearly the Finance Minister has other ideas. Now, he gave this interview yesterday to the Sunday paper, Le Journal du Dimanche. Now, one ministerial advisor says that it's very unlikely that the President and the Prime Minister had not sort of okayed this. It's very unlikely that Macron is speaking off the record.
That would be very bad, wouldn't it?
Exactly. And this advisor says that Hollande cannot one day appear to go against Valls and then 3 days later allow this interview to going out. He says it's incomprehensible.
OK, not a lot of love lost there between the newspapers and the government right now, it would seem. Well, the French newspapers, another big topic right now, looking at what's happening with clandestine migrants, large camps of them up around Calais, of course, looking to go across to the UK. And there's been a demonstration of police officers that's planned for today.
That's right. Le Parisien's reporters went to meet the migrants, and the paper says that these are pretty much willing to do anything to try and make it to the UK, including some very desperate measures. The Paris Daily says that about almost 2,000 are currently living in Calais, most of them single men, but also families as well. A lot of them come from war-torn countries, and that's becoming ever more frequent a case in recent years.
So people who can't get official asylum status but are still fleeing desperate circumstances.
That's right, yeah. All the misery of the world, writes Le Parisien. It mentions migrants coming from Darfur, Somalia, Iraq, Syria and Eritrea. Now, the majority of migrants into France, about 100,000 this year, come via Menton, which is in the southeast on the Italian border. Some try their luck in the UK, but the majority actually go on to Sweden and Germany, which you imagine is an easier destination to reach. The right-leaning Le Figaro, once again, denounces a France that it calls a sieve for migrants, and it criticises also the explosion of migratory fluxes at the southeastern border between Menton and Vintimille. And there too, the police unions are saying they don't have sufficient measures to deal with the influx.
It seems like an echo of what we've been hearing out of Italy and Greece as well for months, doesn't it? Yeah. They say they can't deal with the migrants and it's just coming on further into the EU. Let's look at another issue now, very emotional story behind this one. There are some judges who've gone to Algeria to deal with a murder investigation, a historical murder investigation that was very big news here in France when it happened. That's
right. The magistrates Marc Trévidic and Nathalie Pou are in Algeria. They're trying to cast light on the murders of the Tiberine monks in 1996. This case would probably be best known in the English-speaking world from a very good film that was released a couple of years ago called Of Gods and Men. 7 monks were killed at their monastery in the Atlas Mountains in 1996. The judges and a team of 15 people are hoping to cast light on it. First of all, they want to establish the identity of the victims. It is known, but of course they want a formal establishment, and also the manner in which they spent their final moments. Le Figaro says that in the eyes of the Algerian government, there's no doubt about it, it was the Islamist GIA, which was at the time prosecuting a war against the government, that was responsible. Well, this thesis has been challenged quite a bit in recent years. Some have pointed to a possible blunder by the Algerian government. However, Le Figaro quotes an Algerian presidential advisor who says that the French team will make no earth-shattering discoveries on this trip. He said, this visit agreed between France and Algiers will have no effect on the case. If there were any possible repercussions for the Algerians, the judges would never have been allowed in, says the quoted advisor. And he goes on to say that this is probably more intended for French public opinions, especially in the wake of the killing of a French hostage in recent weeks in Algeria.
Yes, 18 years on, still no resolution to that case. Finally, a word about how France is seeing the situation in Kobani, just in northern Syria.
That's right. The Kurdish city has been abandoned to jihadists, says Liberation's headline, which is critical of the Turkish government's inaction. It says even if the PKK, that is the Kurdish Workers' Party, has long used dubious methods, the Kurds in general are courageous people who practice a form of religion infinitely more open and tolerant than their neighbours or their adversaries, the Islamic State organisation. Liberation concludes their defeat would also be ours.
Still fighting on in Kobani. Thanks very much, Oliver. Ferry back in a little bit later on with a look through the international press for us as well. For now, we're going to see what's making headlines online in web news.